illustrious president, Carrie, was not feeling well, so she couldn't be here tonight, but she did want me to thank you all for coming and thank you for supporting the community and the chamber and being part of this. So, again, hello and thank you all for coming out tonight to help support democracy in our great city of Brentwood and to become more involved to learn about who you want to vote for in this year's city elections. I would like to, thank the Brentwood Chamber of Commerce for co-hosting the forum tonight with the Brentwood Press. I'd also like to thank the Brentwood Union School District staff and Superintendent Dr. Dana Eaton for allowing us to use this beautiful theater. Isn't this amazing? Yes. I also want to give a big shout out to our technical guys up there, Robert and Eric up in the back. They've been meeting with my guy Andy for a couple of meetings to make this all work. Hopefully I'll be getting some texts from the people out there in the live streaming world that they can hear us. We had a little faux pas at the last one we did, so hopefully you can hear fine. So with that, before we get started, we are in this amazing theater here. So I'd like to take a minute and talk about somebody who's sitting out in the audience and introduce a good friend of mine whose family homesteaded started here in Brentwood in 1865. He is a Liberty graduate. As a father raising his family here in the Brentwood community, he's always stayed involved in his hometown. He's been a part of the education community for 58 years. He was a teacher. He was then elected to the Brentwood Union School District Elementary School Board, and he's been on that board for the past 27 years. He is we're getting to the hint who we're talking about. He is the founder and previous owner of Gettis Music. He's the founding board member of Working Wonders. He's on the local cemetery board and one of the new directors for the Downtown Coalition. At 80 years young, he is still working as a consultant and a real estate agent right here in Brentwood. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my dear friend and colleague, Mr. Emil Gettis, as we are in the Gettis Theater.
Wow, thank you. It's my honor to greet all of you and the Brentwood candidates sharing their candidacy here in this beautiful Brentwood Union School District Performing Arts Center, provided by you, the voters of Brentwood, and dedicated in my name. Thank you. It is, in my mind, most appropriate that we're being educated tonight in a Bristol school site and in a performing arts building. Just as in performing arts, we're holding an audition tonight, much like a band or orchestra audition for leadership chair or in a drama role in the community production and continuing performance. We need to decide through our vote who will perform and how well we think each candidate will provide the fiduciary leadership to maintain strong financial performance and help guarantee the quality of life we all desire. We have a God-given opportunity to vote. I have always agreed with the adage, if you're not part of solving the problem, you are part of the problem. And if you don't vote, don't complain. The most important education tonight meeting is please exercise your opportunity to use the information of this audition to assist in making your choice to vote for the candidate you think will improve the performance and best lead our city of Brentwood. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this beautiful place. Don't take my notes. Okay. Let's see how we're doing here on time. All right, perfect. 6:29. Let's go ahead and get our forum started tonight. The format tonight will be each of the candidates will get a 2-minute opening statement. We have 12 pre-selected questions, and you'll all have 2 minutes to answer. We will do the questions so that each person will go in rotation, so you each get a chance to start first. Each candidate will then get another 2 minutes at the end for their closing statement. So we have our timer, Dale. He will be showing you these signs. We have a green sign. Can you guys all see that? That says you have 30 seconds left. We have a yellow sign that says you have 15 seconds left. And the red means you're done talking. Please be courteous and respectful to each other. No comments out of turn. And again, this is not a debate, it is a forum. We'll ask questions and you answer. So, are you ready? All right, so at this time, I'd like to introduce our esteemed moderator, Dr. Luann Hall. Dr. Hall, take it away. One more thing is we only have one mic for the table, so you guys will have to share it and just kind of pass it along because you're going to go in order back and forth. Okay? Thank you.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Hi, my name is Dr. Luann Hall, but good try. Practice makes perfect. I only known Greg 25 years, so it's taken a long time. I'm a retired or semi-retired pediatric dentist here in Brentwood. I've been a business owner since 1999 and a resident outside the city limits of Brentwood. So I don't have a dog in the race. So I won't be able to vote for anyone. So as a neutral party, it's my honor to serve as your moderator for this important event. We're here, as Greg said, to discuss some very important issues facing our community and to hear from the candidates for city council and for mayor and hear their plans and visions for Brentwood's future. So Greg's reviewed, but as I said, we want to finish before midnight. So each candidate's limited to 2 minutes, and Dale will help assist with the time. We'll give you 30, 15, and a time up signal over there next to the camera. And I'd like each of you to introduce yourselves. We're going to start out with the two mayoral candidates, and starting with Gerald Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gerald Johnson. Thank you for coming out. I greatly appreciate this opportunity to speak to you today. I'm running for mayor because I believe in the positive possibilities that Brentwood has to offer in the future. I'm a proud resident of Brentwood for the last 22 years. My parents are from Panama, so they're Panamanian immigrants. My father served in the U.S. Army and during the Korean War, and my mother worked in the New York City school system. I've been married to my wife for 36 years, and we have two wonderful boys who went to Cray, Adams, Heritage, on to college, and now they're living their professional lives. During my professional life, I had some senior roles at major corporations. I've managed portfolios as large as $1.1 billion. I founded my own consulting firm here in Brentwood, and I earned my Certified Management Consultant certification. I was the president of the Chamber of Commerce, the Brentwood Chamber of Commerce, during the COVID years, and we made it through, and I'm very proud of that. In my community life, currently I serve on the Planning Commission, and I work to ensure that all of the new developments meet and align with our general plan. Because of my strategic planning background and my community involvement, I believe I'm uniquely qualified to be your next mayor. As mayor, I have 3 priorities. First, creating a business-friendly environment for Brentwood. Second, build affordable housing and address the unhoused. And third, leading with strong vision for the future. Thank you very much. Gerald Johnson.
Our next candidate is Susanna Meyer.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight and giving up your Monday evening. I am Susanna Meyer. I'm the current vice mayor. I've been on city council for 4 years. I got involved, as a lot of people during COVID, got involved in their communities a little bit more to see what they could do to make a difference. I can say in my career I make a difference on a regular basis as I'm the executive director of a nonprofit serving older adults and adults with disabilities in 3 Bay Area counties. As soon as I got on city council, I started to figure out what my focus was about. My first initial agenda item was to look at our open space and conservation portion of our general plan, and then to look at adaptive recreation, and I've kind of gone on from there, and I'm incredibly proud of the track record I've had for the past 4 years. I'm also very involved in the California League of Cities. I'm on the Mayors and Council Members Department. I'm a previous president there, and I was on the Housing and Economic Development Policy Committee as well. So my experience allows me to get involved at a state level, a county level, a city level, and to understand legislation and policy that impact Brentwood. And so I've actually gone to the Capitol to advocate for bills that I thought either would or would not work for Brentwood. My priorities include economic development, so that our people that commute over an hour each way, we have like 78% have jobs that are closer to home, that we increase our affordable housing. We've been working on that and done some good work there. And that we keep Brentwood, Brentwood, because I hear that from a lot of people, that they really want to make sure Brentwood stays the community that they love, the small town feel, the community feel, the agriculture. We're doing some incredible work there. I hope I get that chance to talk about later. But I would like for you to vote for me because I think I'm committed. I've been doing the work for 4 years. I know exactly what I'm doing and what my plans are, and I feel very strongly that I will do an excellent job as your mayor. Thank you for your vote.
And next, we have two candidates for District 2, and we will start with Faye Maloney. District 1, I'm sorry. There is no District 2 here. District 1.
Hello, everyone. My name is Faye Maloney, and I'm asking for your vote for District 1 City Council. I've lived in Brentwood for 10 years. I am a wife. I am a stepmom. My child went to high school here. And I have a background, an extensive background in law enforcement. The reason why my background is in law enforcement and I've dedicated my life to public service is because when I was a child, I was parentally abducted by my father internationally, and I escaped the Middle East when I was 14 and a half. I learned to use my adversity, my life experience, to overcome adversity and not be a victim, but be a victor and be a voice for those that don't have a voice. So that is where my public service comes from. I've been in public safety since 2002. I worked in Sacramento County and Alameda County. I've been a dispatcher. I've been a police officer. I've worked in human trafficking, narcotics, community policing. I've done work with our unhoused community. I've been a liaison between different nonprofits with different stakeholders within our city. I've learned a lot about what's going on politically speaking, legislatively speaking. I've advocated for policy nationally and at the Capitol, and I've learned that the most important engagement comes within your own community, your own backyard, which is why now I began to focus my attention on my own community in 2020, because I learned that if we're not here engaged in our own backyard, we're not going to be able to get anything done, whether at the state or at the national level. I did run in 2020 and I was not successful. I don't believe that you just quit. You just get up and try again. I don't believe in failure. So I did apply for the Planning Commission after. I was not selected. Therefore, I chose the Contra Costa Commission for Women and Girls, where I've served as chair for 2 years, and I'm currently the treasurer. I am a commuter. My priorities are for public safety, supporting our local businesses, preserving our agriculture community, and thank you very much. It's time to stop.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Anita Roberts.
Okay. Well, thank you, Brentwood Press, the superintendent, stakeholders, and in addition, all the residents here in Brentwood. I have a deep love for Brentwood, just like you. I chose to establish my roots here, and now I'm running for city council with others to ensure the best future for our city. Achieving this requires a real commitment, and I'm no stranger to hard work and dedication. For the past 46 years, I've advanced from data entry positions to CFOs, which roles in several Fortune 500 companies, a government position as a deputy director in the Office of Management and Budget, managing revenues from $5 billion to $172 billion, and that's pretty good. In 2006, I founded T & Associates. I received a Woman of the Year award from the U.S. Congress. And as a 4-term Brentwood Planning Commissioner, currently serving as a chairperson for the 2nd term here in Brentwood, I understand the importance of local jobs, control growth, schools, traffic, and public safety. I focus on the impact of projects on residents and neighborhoods, traffic, schools, and resources. And as a chairperson, I am involved in leading the commission in thorough and robust discussions to consider every application. My background in local government, finance, and nonprofit equips me to be a strong city council person who listens to the residents, that is you, conducts research, analyzes data, and finds the best solutions for our community. Lastly, I want to address the importance of today's respectful dialogue. I want to say that it's important that you know that all of us up here give much to our community. And I'm going to stop, but before I stop, I want to say this. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And some smart people understand that we have more in common than our differences. And it's amazing how much we can accomplish if no one cares who gets the credit, because we are better in Brentwood.
Thank you. And next, we have two candidates for District 3, starting with Jovita Mendoza.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you, Greg and the press, for hosting us, the Chamber of Commerce, and Dr. Hall for being here to moderate tonight. I have been on City Council for 4 years. I've been in Brentwood for about 20. My husband and I have 2 daughters that have gone through the school system. We now have a senior at UCLA and a senior at Heritage. We're very proud of them. We love our city. So 4 years ago, when I saw what was happening with some development and no jobs in the area, I decided to run so I could make a difference. I brought out my pamphlet from the last election I was in and read some of the promises I made. Jobs. We're doing that on council. We're bringing jobs to Brentwood. We'll go over the details, I'm sure, later on in the evening. Emergency services. We have funded our police department with a 5th beat, and we've actually given every single budget asset they've had for us over the last 4 years. We support our police department. I'm also glad that we advocated for Measure X for East Contra Costa Fire Department to merge with Contra Costa County. And the other things were smart growth. I advocate at the state level, and I'm actually working on a state initiative where we, the residents, get a say in what gets built and where, and it doesn't come down from an ivory tower in Sacramento forcing us to build something we may not want. We need to keep residents informed. I really try hard to make sure that through social media and through emailing every single person back, you have all of the information that I have. We shouldn't do anything in the backgrounds, and we should be transparent. Budget. My background is finance. I'm a senior financial analyst, and I love that work. I started a budget subcommittee, so we're keeping track, making sure we're prepaying our pension obligations. The worst thing would be that one day you don't have money to pay for your pension, which is your employees that you value. So I've kept all of my promises, and there is a lot more to do. You know, along the ways, I think I'm one of the council people that has had the most agenda items brought forward, and I do that because of you, the people. It's important that your voice be heard on the dais, and whatever it is that you want for your town comes to fruition. Thank you so much for coming out today, and I look forward to all of your questions tonight, Dr. Hall.
Okay, thank you very much. And our next candidate for District 3 is Brian Oftedal.
Nice. Thank you so much. It's great to see a large turnout here this evening. My name's Brian Oftedal. I'm a 24-year resident of East Contra Costa. I'm married. My wife, Nicole. We've been together for the last 18 years. We have 2 beautiful daughters, a 9-year-old Bailey and a 6-year-old Cameron. They both go to Ron Nunn Elementary School right down the street. Employment-wise, I work as a captain and a paramedic for the city of Oakland for the fire department. I started actually out here in East Contra Costa and worked for the Bethel Island Fire Protection District as a firefighter paramedic, and also worked as a paramedic on the ambulance. I've been in public safety for roughly coming up on almost 30 years. I'm committed to the community. I'm dedicated to service. I was your president for East Contra Costa Fire Protection District. I was appointed and or elected for almost 6 years prior to the annexation, a task that some said was impossible to fix. Some compared it to the Titanic and rearranging tables and chairs on the Titanic, but it was something that a good group of people got together and we accepted the challenge and we fixed that problem. I've been with Contra Costa County Fire as one of your fire commissioners for a little over 2 years now. I'm the chair of the Fire Commission. I've worked closely with the school district out here last year as the vice president of Ron Nunn Parents Club. I'm still an active parent volunteer and the chair of the school site council. I was the chair last year and I'm the chair this year. I've been a dedicated volunteer in the community for over 30 years with the American Red Cross for coming up on 30 years alone, doing disaster service work and doing CPR training, preparedness training, and that's really what I'm all about. I'm committed to improving fire services, police services, and recruitment and retention of our employees. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Each of you will have the opportunity to answer one of the questions first. I don't have enough time to repeat them, but if you really want me to repeat them, I will. The first one, first question is for Gerald, and you all will answer the same question. Being a member of the City Council requires knowledge of local ordinances, state laws, and other legislative issues that can influence policy and decisions. What knowledge and experience do you bring to the table that would qualify you for this role?
Well, currently, I sit on the Planning Commission, so I've been able to read a lot of the documents. A lot of stuff that goes to the City Council actually comes to the Planning Commission first in terms of development. So I've gotten a lot of exposure in reading and reviewing all sorts of those documents. Additionally, in terms of working with the Brentwood Chamber of Commerce, I've gotten business for what's going on in the business community, what's going on here locally, and then also my background in being a consultant and working in business and working in corporate America also gives me a great deal of advantages with financial oversight and strategic planning and setting a vision for the future. I think all of those things are important, and then the last thing that I think is very important is you do have to do a lot of reading. 1,000 pages sometimes, and if you're diligent in reading and doing your research, you will come up with an answer. And that's why I think the City Council is important, because I think we need to have a diversity of thought. We need to have people who come to decisions based on their own background and experiences. And I think I bring a business background, I think I bring a local community background, I think I bring 22 years of being here, and I bring all of that with me to help make better decisions on the City Council.
Thank you. Susanna, next question, same question.
And I'm sorry to clarify, were you asking for qualifications in general or legislative what?
Your knowledge and your experience.
Okay, thank you. As I mentioned, I've been on City Council for 4 years, which of course has allowed me a long term of really building an understanding of what goes on specifically at the city level, but also in connection with the county and the state and sometimes even federal legislation and policy building. My day job, as I mentioned, I'm the executive director of a nonprofit. In that role, I have to manage the operations, administration, the budget, the staffing, all of the government relations, the media relations. I'm the agency front-facing person that makes most of the presentation, so I do a lot of work there. Prior to that work, I worked for the state senate for 2.5 years. So in that role, it wasn't the best fit at the time. I got back into nonprofit, my true love, but I learned a lot about state legislation and how to advocate for the things that are going to make the biggest difference for your community. Before I had kids, and by the way, I've been married 38 years, 2 grown sons. I'm a grandmother, and I worked in the corporate industry. So I learned a lot about working in communications, business planning, strategic planning, that kind of thing. So I would say altogether, with my council experience, my day job experience, previous experience, the committees that I've been on, my work with the California League of Cities, again, I was the past president of the Mayors and Council Department, and also on the Housing and Economic Development Policy Committee. With all of those things together, and the practice that I've learned from meeting all the people in the community during the past 4 years and making a lot of regional connections, I feel very strongly that I am the right person for this position. I've got the experience, I've got a lot of relationships in local elected officials, and the commitment to certainly reading every page of every agenda as it comes before us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Same question. Thank you. Faye.
Thank you. My experience in public safety has not been only enforcing the law, but also being a part of the law as it's being implemented and testifying to either Senate commissions, local commissions on what policy that's going on or that needs to be developed. I do have a background in being involved in nonprofits and law enforcement nonprofit organizations where I did chair for 7 years. And a part of that, I was able to advocate for policy that affected not just the whole country, California, and specifically the Bay Area when it comes to fentanyl, fentanyl use, human trafficking, crimes against children and whatnot. So I was a part of that inception of those different policies. And I was also fortunate enough to testify for the Public Safety Commission on multiple occasions with the expertise, so I got to see that whole process. And also my experience in the Contra Costa Commission for Women and Girls, where I did chair that commission for 2 years, and it's very strict rules when it comes to the Brown Act, ensuring that we follow meeting procedures and whatnot. So I have had that experience when it comes to a local level and a state level. My education background, I will be graduating with my master's degree in February in public administration, so I believe that would even give me a better knowledge. Knowledge is power. I do have the experience, I do have the knowledge to sit on the council commission, but I do believe that being open and willing to learn for everything new that's coming at you is vitally important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anita, you're next.
Okay. Well, my background is in finance. I have worked for the Office of Management and Budget. I've had to report to the legislatures on several items related to budgets. I am the planning commissioner for the city of Brentwood. It's my 4th term, my 2nd term as the chair. And so many of the packets that we have, that we receive, are packets that we review. A lot of them are quite voluminous, but indeed it is going to require a lot of reading, and I'm more than prepared and have the experience in doing quite a bit of that, upwards in the neighborhood of sometimes 4 to 6 hours, and drilling down. The other thing that's important is to be able to ask the questions, and so engaging staff, then that would be the city staff, for things that I don't know, need more information and clarification. Clarifying questions are important amongst myself, with the city staff, is how we get there. And engaging the community, that's very important. Without the community, I'm working in a vacuum, and I'm not going to sit in a chair and work without the community involvement. So all that said, yeah, I'm more than ready to make this move as a city council person and manage all of that in a vacuum. Thanks.
Thank you. Alvita.
Hi. A lot of what we read, a lot of the ordinances, a lot of the state laws are very legalese. And I think my background is very well suited to do that. One of my first jobs before I was in finance was reading legal documents. And not only reading legal documents, but translating them into Spanish, which can be a little difficult. So that's where I kind of started reading legal documents just because I had to, and then it became into something I enjoyed doing. So what happened here in Brentwood is we saw a lot of development happening. And things were getting approved, we weren't happy. And there's a group of us who didn't want it to happen. So we started reading all of the state bills, all of the ordinance, and understanding what could happen and what couldn't, so that we could then go speak at city council and give them information so that they could either deny a project or approve a project, depending on what the residents wanted. So that was kind of my foray into that. Now that I'm on council, those skills have come in very handy, as well as the finance, because we do have to talk about the financial impact of different legislation. And is it an unfunded mandate or a funded mandate? How much is it going to cost, and all of those good things. But I think people are under the assumption that staff tells us everything. They don't. We have to read all of the documents. We then have to go outside of the document and read the ordinances and read the laws. A good example was the original Bridal Gate in 2021. We denied that project, and that project took me hours and hours and hours of analytics on the bill, on our ordinances, on the project, and then I came up with a list of 8 reasons why we could deny the project. So we can't deny just because we don't like it, and we denied it, and because of the analytics that I did, understanding the legalese, we actually got taken to court for the denial of the project. Vice Mayor Susanna Meyer, myself, and the city were all sued, and we won in court. That doesn't happen if you don't understand what you're reading when it comes to state laws and ordinances. And I continue to use that skill set and with every single project.
Thank you. Ryan.
Nice, thank you. Well, I'll start out by sharing, in the fire department, I've been in a supervisory or a management position since 2005. In 2005, I was promoted to the role of lieutenant, and I served in that role for 9 years until 2015 when I promoted to the role of captain. I've managed and organized programs throughout my career. I mentioned that I was the president of East Contra Costa Fire. Very similar role if you think about it, looking at city management versus the fire district management. There's 5 members that sit on the board, just like the city council, and we have 2 employees that report to us. We have the fire chief and the city and the fire district attorney. So very similar, where the city council has their city manager and they have the city attorney that they report to. We have meetings where most of the time they don't get into the length of packets that our current city council does, where you could have thousands of pages or 1,500 pages worth of materials, but we do have our meetings where they're up to 400 to 700 pages that we have to research. And I rely on our subject matter experts. I don't think anybody thinks that we should know everything. The city manager should be there providing directors, providing subject matter experts, providing consultants for us to get answers to our questions that after we've done our reading and we've done our own research, we should be able to go to those individuals and get those questions answered before we go to the meeting. I see a lot of political play, a lot of political theater going on where there's questions that are being asked that really truly should have been answered prior to the meeting. We've got the weekend to do our research. We have those subject matter experts to utilize. We should be utilizing them. I've gone through California Special Districts Association transparency and earned certificates in different transparency and governance programs, and I see I'm coming to the end of my time, but I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will start with Susanna. Yeah.
In the spirit of time, you don't have to clap for them one time. I would hope after this point that you would hold the applause.
Just hold thumbs up or down.
All right. And then as far as the mics, yeah, just pass it back the other way.
Okay, so our next question, number 2, we will start with Susanna. In addition to legislative knowledge, a key part of being a member of council is being able to make decisions that benefit the people whom you represent. A key part of this is being an active member of the local community to understand the wants and the needs of your constituents. In what way are you active in the community? And in what ways will you become even more active if you're elected to for mayor? I need to change that. It says it's mayor.
Thank you. One of the best ways I'm active currently is I am a Brentwood Lion, a proud Brentwood Lion. When we first moved to Brentwood 15 years ago, I was looking for a way to get more involved at the time and became a friendly visitors volunteer to a woman who lived in Somerset who was isolated and estranged from her family. And through that, got more collectively involved in doing nonprofit work that was centered around older adults. I am very active in the community at this point. When you are on city council, you get the opportunity to be invited to a lot of events, a lot of cultural events, a lot of events that are involved with children or high school graduations, that kind of thing. None of that is required. You are not required to go to all of these events. What you are required to do is read and understand agendas, understand policy, and be able to vote and come prepared to meetings. So all of the other things that we currently do are extras. So the volunteer work that I do through the Lions, the volunteer work that I do through other nonprofits that I support, those are all extras. The events that I buy tickets to so I can make sure I'm supporting communities in need, those are all extras. I do a lot in the community. I show up. And I plan to continue showing up. I think that's one of the most important things you can do. And then last, I want to say, when we get contacted by residents who have concerns about something happening in their neighborhood, it is our job to be a customer service representative and to represent them. So the agenda items that I bring forward are primarily resident-driven. My response to emails and my phone calls and my meetings in person with residents, all of that is resident-driven, and it's to be more involved and responsive in the community, which is one of my main priorities. Thank you.
Thank you. It's hard to resist, I can tell. Next, Faye.
Thank you. My involvement in the community, I'm a strong supporter of our business communities. I support chamber events, I support downtown events. I volunteer my time with the Contra Costa Commission for Women and Girls, and I've utilized my experience and my time there to bring some events to the Brentwood area and to serve our district. I believe that having an ear to the ground and making sure that you're communicating with the business communities, the different nonprofits, the school district is very important. I'm very engaged in our local politics. Also, the other thing that I think is really important is that Brentwood is a commuter community. You cannot expect every single commuter to be attending every single event. There's other ways to engage. So I've used all my spare time to be able to serve our community from either a volunteer perspective, supporting with attending events, or through bringing events from the Contra Costa Commission for Women and Girls. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anita, same question.
Okay, thank you. So how I engage the community and will continue to engage the communities through my church, the Bay Church. I also engage in farmers market. I will support some of the local events that the Chamber of Commerce puts on from time to time. There's one coming up on Thursday at the streets of Brentwood, and I'll be there. And I try to engage with some of the schools and some of the children who are engaged in events that will take them on travel. So in support of that, and you'll find most of that and find that ask at the farmers market. So that's my involvement. Aside from being a planning commissioner, I keep my ear to the ground when it comes to things that go on in the city of Brentwood, and I try very hard to hear the barriers, if there are any, and there are, to remove those that bring about a positive outcome for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Ovita, same question.
So yeah, as how I stay engaged with the community is after every single meeting, I post a recap of what we talked at the meeting and how we voted and how we got there. That's important. I'm out in the community a lot. I volunteer a lot at my daughter's school. Actually, I just saw our famous videographer from when my daughter played basketball. It was so nice to see you tonight. But it's just making sure that everyone knows what's going on. There should be no surprises when it comes to what we're voting on, and just making sure that the public knows what's happening. Also staying engaged with the businesses. What are their biggest challenges? What do they need help with? That's one of the reasons I just brought an item forward where we streamline the way we do business in Brentwood, because we keep hearing that there's obstacles. Let's get rid of the obstacles. Let's find some best practices. And I will say that while some might think there's political theater, there really isn't. We have questions. We ask them. If we don't get answers, then we have to do our own research. Again, staff cannot do the research for all 5 of us on a Monday for a Tuesday meeting after you read the agenda all weekend. So I'm sorry if it looks like political theater, but it's not. It's me actually doing the very, very hard work and sometimes being put in a very difficult place. But when it comes to the residents, I don't mind the work at all whatsoever.
Thank you. And next is Brian.
Nice. So with East Contra Costa Fire, I had 120,000 constituents over 249 square miles. So it took me a little bit of time to figure out how I could cover that area. And with Contra Costa County, obviously, being in my commissioner role, it's even more challenging. However, I've created professional public safety social media pages. I've made my cell phone available. I'm very reachable. I'm involved in the community heavily, so when I'm not working my 52-hour work week, some have heard me share at forums that I have consistently volunteered at least 40 hours a week for the last 8 years. Most of that was with East Contra Costa Fire, but I also do a lot of volunteerism with the American Red Cross on my days off. So I'm very engaged in the community, and whether that's with the Red Cross, doing first aid stations, hanging smoke alarms, doing preparedness exercises. I'm on both the Alameda County and Contra Costa County Leadership Council. I'm heavily involved in different associations, National Association of Emergency Medical Technicians, California State Firefighters Association, and I'm an active member of the International Association of Firefighters and California Professional Firefighters. I'm very active, very engaged. I've been in the community. I've attended every single national night event, whether I was at work or out here in Brentwood. Meetings for years. I was recently at one of the joint safety and security meetings for Somerset. National Night Out has been a big ticket item, going with different, whether it's a congressman or a senator or bouncing around with different county supervisors. I have tried to hit as many different National Night Out events as I could. So I stay involved, I stay engaged, I'm very available, I'm very reachable, and I respond back to people. I don't just ignore messages, whether it's a tough conversation or not. I will sit down and have that conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Gerald, next. Same question, Gerald? Oh, it takes a while to pass the mic. Here, take mine.
All right. Well, I grew up in the Brentwood Chamber of Commerce. For the last 8 years, I've been dedicating myself to the business community of Brentwood. So much so, I was named the Ambassador of the Year. And then I was named the Director of the Year twice. And then I was the President for 2 years. Part of that, I was reaching out to Brentwood business owners and businesses throughout the city. We did ribbon cuttings and mixers and all sorts of things like that. I also variously attend Rotary events and other events throughout the city tangentially, I don't know, on a tangentially related to the business community. Can't say that word. Somebody say it for me, please. Anyway, bail me out. But I try to engage myself with various people of various communities so you can learn and exchange ideas and help develop the community and bring new ideas across to different aspects of the community. That's my past. In the future, I'm already getting a taste of that. I plan on just visiting more and more different aspects of the community, places that I didn't have to or didn't know I needed to get involved with. But now, because I'm running for mayor, I find that my mind is changing about certain things because you're meeting new people, you're getting exposed to different things, and that's part of the reason you get on the council, so you can get exposed, get new ideas, take in new information, and change the way you think sometimes about various aspects of what's going on in Brentwood. So that's what I will continue to do, is expand my reach.
Thank you. Question number 3. Effecting change in the city is one of the main roles of the city council. Is there anything that the current council is involved with or doing that you disagree with? And if so, in what way would you change that? We'll start with Faye.
I definitely think that our council does work very hard on the dais and off the dais. And if I am to change anything, it would be to bring more civility and just better engagement with each other and with the staff, maybe, rather than have a lot of conflict. Sometimes it's okay to disagree, to agree to disagree, and I feel like it's upon all of us to treat one another with dignity and respect, but at the same time, I'm going to have to say that I do like their tenacity to support their communities. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anita, same question.
Oh, I think that they're spot on. I have to tell you that I don't want anyone rubber stamping my community. I want the engagement. I want the dialogue. I don't care how long it takes. Please bring it on, because at the end of the day, the decision that they make is going to be, or the decision that I might make, is going to affect not just me, but all of you. So I don't find that it is contentious or it's spirited. It is robust, and I wouldn't change a thing. Leave it just the way it is.
Thank you.
I ditto everything Anita said. I think we do a great job. It's interesting because I just had a conversation with Joel Bryan about this, and Joel says, I need you to be who you are on council. He's like, I've never seen anyone fight so hard for residents, and we laugh about it. We can disagree up there, and I will always advocate for my residents first above everything else. I mean, I love Susanna, and Susanna and I have at times not agreed, and it's okay. I get off that dais, and I love her. She is now one of my best friends. So I don't think that we should see it as uncivil. I think that we see it as working through problems. I sit in board meetings during the day with, Fortune 100 companies. Those meetings can get worse than anything I've ever seen on council, but those members are responsible for shareholder wealth. I'm responsible as a council person to make sure that the quality of life that you have in Brentwood is the best that I can get you. And I will never sacrifice myself to not do that for you, the residents. So I think things are going great. Again, like I said, I just talked to Joel about it, and Joel's like, don't change anything you are. He enjoys the crosstalk. I enjoy the crosstalk. I think it might be difficult for some people, but you got to work how it works for your council. And I think we all get along pretty well. We all leave and we're fine. So I think it might make some people uncomfortable, but sometimes getting work done can get a little bumpy, and I'm not going to avoid a bumpy road ever.
Brian.
Right, yeah, well, so city council, I mean, it's one of those volunteer position that's pretty much a thankless job. You put in a lot of time and effort, just like anybody that sits on a board or a committee. It's a lot of time that's spent and dedicated, and I appreciate our council putting in that time and effort that they do. And I know the role that I'm looking to step into. I lost my train of thought a little bit on that.
Would you like a repeat? I'll throw you a lifeline.
No, I've got it again. So, no, thank you. That's one of the tough things, being the last person to speak after that question's only been asked once. Yeah, so what I'd like to see is our meetings go too long. We need to change that. People cannot stay up until 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and whether that's city council meetings or planning commissioner meetings, staying up till 1:52, 1:54 in the morning, nobody can attend meetings like that. Those of us that are commuters within the community that commute 60 minutes somewhere, we can be involved until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night at the latest, but we don't consistently need these meetings going on until midnight. Part of that has to do with public comments being 5 minutes apiece. We only have 2 minutes here right now, instead of that 5 minutes that the community can come up and talk about whatever it is that they may want to talk about. I'm all for people coming in and sharing their concerns and sharing what needs to be changed or what's not right. But some of that can be done remotely. Some of that can be done in advance by typing out your concern. That can be a 5-page document that you turn in. So one of my initial requests is going to be to reduce it to at least 3 minutes. I think that would be a good starting point to get down to public comments at 3 minutes, so we can try to get these meetings closed out at 10 o'clock. There should be a time that, unless there's a state of emergency, we should end by 10 o'clock at night. Thank you.
Well, I will try to do that tonight if you'd like. Okay. No, not good timing. Next, passing the mic to Gerald.
Yes, I think we need to change the focus to a more business-friendly environment. I mentioned that earlier. You know, when I first moved to Brentwood 22 years ago, people were buying houses like we're going to the grocery store. There were tons of developments all over the place, and we'd just go shopping from one to another. Those days are over, and we need to change from that business, that development of homes where people are buying houses to more a business-friendly environment, because we're going to need tax dollars to get the amenities, to get the infrastructure that you want to see coming in the future. Whatever doesn't grow dies, and we need to focus on the future of Brentwood. To do that, we need to empower businesses to thrive throughout Brentwood, all over Brentwood. Brentwood in businesses at the streets of Brentwood, Brentwood businesses at Lone Tree, Brentwood businesses all over the city of Brentwood. We need to do that so we can raise more tax dollars so we can get the amenities that we want to have. When my kids were growing up, we all want businesses here. We want to go to restaurants. We want activities for our children. We want to visit various things. The business community and the residential community fit hand in hand. It's like that yin and that yang, that each balance. Most people commute outside of Brentwood. They go to San Francisco. They go to Oakland. They go to Concord. We have an innovation center that's supposed to be built on Route 4. That was formerly PA1. That's been like that for 22 years that I've lived here. It's not even on our strategic plan. When you go to our strategic plan and look at focus item number 3, you'll see that you don't see the innovation center there. We need to put it there, and we need to focus on those things so we can reduce commuter times, create jobs in our community, create growth in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last person for this question is Susanna.
Thank you very much. There's a lot to unpack from everything I just heard. To talk about meetings, we do sometimes meet long. There are a lot of things that we have to discuss. Sometimes we get into some robust discussions. I would say the idea that we're contentious and divisive is a false narrative that gets promoted by certain so-called media sites on social media, and I don't agree with them. This is the same narrative that was pushed in 2022, and when city council members came and joined us, they found out that it wasn't true. If you do some research, you'll find that most of our votes are 5-0, and when they aren't, it's because we've got one or two people that don't agree, which is perfectly fine. We're not required to agree about everything. What we are required to do is make sure that we've done our homework and come to the city council meeting with questions and help the public understand how we got somewhere, which is why sometimes I actually ask questions I've already asked of the city manager. Not gotcha moments, but they're ones that I've told him in advance, I'm gonna need more information about this because I think the public needs to know. So when I'm sitting there in public and I'm asking questions that sound like I might already know the answer, sometimes I do. And sometimes it's because I want you to know the answer too, and I want you to know how we all got there. We are 5 very different people on that council with 5 very different perspectives. Most of the time we get to the same place. Sometimes the discussion gets a little heated for us to get there. I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to sit and listen while people express themselves, even if I don't agree with them. I would say as far as the business focus, I agree completely. We grew way too fast for so long. We were dependent on developer fees, and we are doing a great job of getting away from that. Our downtown business coalition, including our executive director that we decided as a council to fund the position of, is thriving to the point we've got a waiting list to get downtown. We've got on your planning commission agenda, which I read for tomorrow, a new business coming in. I will let it go to the next person now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I go first?
Yes. Okay, the next question. Oh, everyone's had a chance to answer that question, right? Yes. Okay, so the next question is a little bit repetitive, but if there's any potential changes or directions on any council policies or decision, what would be your top 3 priorities if you're elected, and how would you enact those changes? We'll start with Anita.
Okay. It's a big question.
Oh, okay. Besides potentially changing the direction of certain current council policies and decisions, name your top 3 priorities if elected on what you would change and how would you enact it.
Okay, thank you. Well, I don't know about the policy changes. I would say that some of the things that I'd like to see happen, first, my 3 things, would be to revisit the Affordable Care Act, affordable housing. We right now have 13%. I'd like to see that increase a little more, just to engage more teachers and some of the local entrepreneurs that are looking to live in Brentwood that unfortunately can't afford to live in Brentwood based on the inventory. Another thing that I'd like to put on that list would be public safety. I know that our stores are taking a real beating with the theft that's going on, and it's not just here, it's going on everywhere, but I'd like to see a little more engagement with our police department, just to sit and figure out how we can move forward with our shop owners, our vendors, to find out exactly what it is that we can do better to not have those costs passed on to us, which is what's happening at the moment. And my 3rd thing would be traffic. Traffic is an issue here in Brentwood, and I'm not quite sure how to get around that, but I certainly would like to take the time to sit with folks that have the knowledge, that have the information. As a council member, I would probably want to set up time to monitor and assess that more frequently, especially with all the development that is about to come into Brentwood. That is certainly going to happen, and with that, it would be proactive and smart for us to get in front of it. So those would be my 3 top items.
Thank you. Next is Jovita.
So my top 3 items is, again, to continue to support our police department. We voted for their 5th beat 3 years ago. And while we want to make sure that we hire the head count, it has to be the right head count. We can't just hire warm bodies to fill roles. So making sure that the chief and the department have everything they need to be able to fill that head count is important. Again, back to our businesses. We keep hearing how difficult it is to do business in Brentwood. So I just brought forward an agenda item, and what we're going to be doing with businesses is they're going to come with their challenges, and then they're going to come with their best practices that they've seen in other cities. We need to figure out how to make it friendlier to start businesses in Brentwood. And once they're here, like Commissioner Roberts stated, what are we going to do about the theft? So how can we work with our police department to help that, reduce it as much as we possibly can? I know our officers park outside different stores, the Ulta, the Safeway on Balfour, the same ones get hit over and over. So just make sure we're monitoring that. Another thing we need to work on is making sure that we protect our open space. Thank you to all who voted Measure Q. That was a resident-written item that then I brought forward, and there's a couple of us that got to sign it when it went to the ballot. Our open space is now protected, but we have to make sure that we're advocating at the state level so that there's nothing done at the state level that overturns our space. I mean, I just went to a mom's meeting, the Mothers of Brentwood, and one of their top asks is for more parks, shade at the parks, and seating at the parks. So what amenities do our residents want? And let's make sure we do that. And again, the affordable housing has always been a big one for me. It's 13% inclusionary. I think that's the right way to go about affordable housing. We need to take it to 20%. At the last lead meeting, which I sit on with Commissioner Roberts, we did instruct our staff. Those affordable housing units should be available for teachers and officers that work locally. It's really, really important. So those are some of the top items that we're working on.
Thank you. Brian, next.
Yeah, so first and foremost, public safety needs to be our #1 priority here. I don't think some of the things that we're working on right now are top of mind. I can't make it 1 or 2 houses before I have somebody talk about how they feel when they're going to Target or when they're going to Safeway, how safe they feel or they don't feel. People feeling like they need to go in pairs to go out shopping. Public safety is inclusive of not just law enforcement, but it's inclusive of fire service, which is provided by Contra Costa County Fires. So we need to be able to collaborate. These community members that I've been talking to when I've been hanging door hangers and out at community events are also concerned about their fire safety, vegetation management issues. They're concerned about fire insurance. I go about 3 or 4 houses before I have somebody tell me their insurance is doubled, tripled, quadrupled, or they no longer have it. When I've shared at a couple of forums where I asked, how do you not have fire insurance? I thought you had to have fire insurance. These are individuals that have fortunately paid off their home, and they're just rolling the dice, and they shouldn't be in that position. So we need to collaboratively be working with our county, and we need to be working with the state, and we need to be taking advantage of every single opportunity that there is. We have 2 fire stations that we need to get open in Brentwood. We need to work collaboratively with the county and Contra Costa County Fire to get those fire stations open. Those directly impact our commercial and residential insurance rates. We need to work with the county to adjust our ISO rating, our Insurance Service Office rating, which directly impacts our commercial and residential insurance. So those are the big things that I would suggest. Also working with the state commissioner, Commissioner Laura. For the last 10 months, we've been working with him to try to figure out how we address the concerns of our residents. We've been talking about it at our fire commissioner meetings, the concerns that are coming up from the residents of the lack of resources to reduce some of these vegetation management issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Gerald, you're next.
Wait, who's next?
Gerald.
Thank you. I heard a lot about business up here, and I've been in the business community for over 8 years. I went into a business the other day, and a business owner asked me, looked me in the eye, and said, "Are we safe?" And I was like, "What do you mean, are we safe?" They didn't really understand what laws were going to be coming out next that would affect that business. Business owners like consistency. They like to understand where and what is coming at them. And I think we need to do a better job of creating an environment where people understand that if they invest $150,000 developing plans for a business, it won't get overturned on a whim or something that they did not see coming. We have business owners getting their alcohol license tweaked so that they can't compete effectively with other business owners that have an alcohol license on the same property. We need to do a better job with that. My other two things would be affordable housing. We do need to have housing for police, firefighters, single moms, single dads, young families. My kids can't afford to come back here. We need to do things to increase that. Also, we need to address the unhoused situation. Too many times you're walking down the street and you might have to step over somebody. We need to partner the police with clinicians, find out what the issue is, get those folks the services, and try to make the community safe by focusing on that. And last, I think we need to do leadership. You know, there's this book I read by Ken Blanchard, that said, when you have something good to say, you say it in public. When you have something bad to say, or you have something, you say it behind the scenes. That's how you lead people. That's how you get the best out of people. If we want the best out of our staff and everybody, we need to abide by that type of thinking. Thank you.
Thank you. Susanna, next.
Thank you. A lot of what I'm hearing up here I would agree with. I think I'm definitely happy to hear about the small business and the local business town hall that we're going to have. I think that's a really good move towards getting a better understanding on a local level of what's working and what isn't, and how we can make things better for our local businesses. I'm married to a small business owner, so I understand the frustrations, having heard them from him in the city of Oakland where his business is. I would say there are items that come before us that are, again, we talked about this, more resident-driven, and there are some that are coming before us that are more policy-driven, and there's a very delicate balance between the two. I was at the Capitol last week, took advantage of the opportunity to speak with one of the secretaries of one of the housing agencies for the state, and I'm getting connected with her and our economic development team to look into some affordable housing grants. We've actually not had a lot of affordable housing developments that come forward to us that are feasible for us. There was one that the community actually really objected to and advocated against, and one of the reasons for that, it was a high-rise affordable housing unit that or complex that actually had one parking unit per unit, one parking space. So if you're looking at people that are, for example, house cleaners or landscapers, you cannot have one single parking space for a mom and a dad and a kid that drives their younger sibling to school. We can't look at affordable housing as I've heard it called, pack 'em and stack 'em. We really need to look at it more as we are and as we're continuing to work towards inclusionary, which means that kids go to school with their neighbors and no one has any idea who's low income and who isn't. That's the kind of affordable housing I want in our city, and I think it's something that we really need to continue to focus on, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Faye, next.
Thank you. I'll echo the sentiments of everyone around me regarding public safety. My background, I've done a lot of work in our unhoused community in Alameda County, and I've also been in charge of implementing a program where a clinician and an officer were partnered up and they'd actually offer resources to our unhoused community. I received an award of excellence from Senator Aisha Wahab for my work last March. Because it was very important work, and I do support it. The challenge that we face is that those individuals do not accept the services that we're offering them. Therefore, we need the state to help us with some sort of legislation that actually allows us to have them, give them a dignified choice of actually accepting those services. So that is a huge passion of mine. Mental health, ensuring that we're inclusive when it comes to that, including our unhoused community, is very important. Also, building awareness for our businesses, making sure that they're aware of what their resources and options are when they are faced with an unhoused individual that's refusing to leave, and making sure the mental health clinicians and the officers are working together along with our county partners with CORE to actually ensure there is work being done there. The other thing also is the fifth beat. I'd like to see the fifth beat being staffed. And I'd also, when it comes to an economic development, I think it would affect our local businesses as well as our ag tourism. We need to start thinking of PA1 not just focused on tech. We need to focus on other types of businesses. Tech does not need structures to sustain. We need businesses that actually need structures to build. I would love to see a trauma center here. I would love to see, we have a lot of kids, whether from Heritage High School being airlifted or the car accidents. And I'd also love to continue our institutionalized knowledge within our city staff, create policies that actually keep our city staff in Brentwood. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 5, starting with the Jehovita. The city has a number of major projects in the pipeline over the next few years, such as the Sand Creek Sports Complex and the Marsh Creek Amphitheater. Yet neither are funded. Which of these projects would be a top priority if elected, and why? And how would you come up with the funding necessary?
So I'm not sure who asked that question, but they are partially funded, so that's a misconception. So let's start with these soccer fields. My husband and I moved over here 20 years ago, and I looked at the general plan, because that's how I am, and we knew that the soccer fields were coming on the corner of Fairview and Sand Creek. We've always been excited about it, but no one on council ever helped support it. No one on staff ever helped support it, ever brought the item forward. So come COVID. During COVID, we received funds from the federal government, and I insisted that those funds be earmarked for the sports complex. Our kids kept getting overlooked when it came to budget dollars, and it was important that we funded projects and locations for them to do things. And we chose soccer because we invited the community out. We used to have big meetings at the community center, and all the kids came out. And what we came up with was that they're going to be soccer and lacrosse lined fields, which is super exciting. So we do have $20 million set aside for the first phase of the sports complex. The second phase will be, a pump track and, a jungle gym, but the soccer fields are going to be done, and it's very exciting. We're going to be going out to RFP later this year. So the great thing about that project is, number one, it's going to bring in people from out of town, which is going to help economic development. They're going to eat at our restaurants. They're going to shop here in Brentwood. They're going to have to find a place to stay, and we have a La Quinta approved over there at the streets. The path is right to the streets of Brentwood, which, if you didn't know, we've been working on for over a year, and now they finally have new ownership, which is supposed to close any day now. The amphitheater, we do have money set aside that we have to use for the amphitheater, I think about $8 million. So it's not that we don't have the money. We have the money, it's just going to have to be redesigned, and we're going to have to actually use developer fees we've received for other development to subsidize some of that spend.
Thank you. Brian, same question.
Yeah, so I live close to the amphitheater, so I think I'm going to start there. The amphitheater, when it was first thought of, it was a completely different picture. There was an envisioned winery that was going to be at the venue. Los Medanos College was going to be on the other side of the road. Iterations of this project have transitioned multiple times over the years. And now, from walking and talking with residents, there's a lot of interest in keeping that as open space. As was suggested, we should have more open space in our area, and times have changed. And if we need to come up with another $7+ million, depending on where we're going to go, I know there's been some recommendations to maybe the last meeting that this was discussed was to bring in food trucks in that area. And the residents that live close to that area, that their backyards would be right in the parking lot area, they don't like the sound of that. They'd love to have this open space. They'd love to have that connect with the Contra Costa County trails that are going to be coming through in the next 20 years when the camping and the trails come through. And they'd love to, I don't know if, the money comes from developer impact fees, and we didn't capture those funds, and we are now in a position where, do we need to go out and try to find $8 million? I mean, our money's coming from property tax. It's coming from sales tax. That money's not here unless we get the builders to come through and put something in there. So I'm all for open space in that area, using it as trails, not sinking another $7 or $8 million into it, especially if we're not going to have a winery and we're not going to have some sort of farm-to-table restaurants or some of these initial things that were presented there. As far as the sports complex, I'm all for putting additional funds there. I think there's other activities that different areas are utilizing out in Livermore. We have great amenities right now in our parks, but I think there's other activities that we could use within that space.
Thank you. Pass the mic back to Gerald. Same question.
So I think that we need to have a plan, a long-term plan, a strategic plan. 25% of our budget comes from property taxes, and 16% of our budget comes from sales taxes. And so when you don't have a plan for the future, you haven't laid it out right, you can get into situations where there's not enough money to pay for everything you want. And that's part of the reason why I'm advocating so consistently about switching towards a business-friendly environment. So we can raise the money through sales taxes for the amenities that we want to see in the community. If we don't do that, we've already started running out of space. You know, there is no more big developments coming. Maybe Bridlegate is coming, but there are no more major developments like how it used to be 20 and 15 years ago. We need to focus on a strategic plan and what we want to see happen. I believe, I like the sports center. I even like the amphitheater, but we need to have the money to pay for it because we're not like the federal government where we can print money. So we have to budget it appropriately over time and pick the things that we want to have to focus on. Getting things like PA1 developed where we can bring in businesses, that helps generate tax dollars to develop the amenities that we all want to see have here. Whether that be a wildlife museum, whether it be agro-tourism, whatever it may be, we need to change the way we're doing it so we can project what's coming in the future, plan for it, and make sure we have the funds to cover it without moving funds around from different projects to cover it. Thank you.
Thank you. Susanna.
Thank you. I agree the Innovation Center is certainly a hub that we need to focus on, and it's been a project that's been on the books for decades, but there has been some incredible movement recently in that we have managed to secure the easements, for example, which are going to help us to get the infrastructure set up so that we can bring more businesses in. Costco is projected to have $1 million a year of tax revenue, which is going to do incredible things for us to build our amenities and amenities and have our infrastructure strong with that as well. I would say that absolutely we need to focus more on bringing in new businesses over housing. I don't think you're going to find anyone on the stage here that argues with that because most of Brentwood wants Brentwood to stay pretty small and to not grow too much more. We are going to be required from the state to build housing. We've got a regional housing needs assessment and a housing element that are requiring us to build a certain number. We can't get around that. Some of these homes are actually going to be in the Innovation Center. It's mixed use, so it will include some homes and some apartments as well. But what I can say is that the soccer complex is going to be in phases. The first phase is funded. The wonderful, wonderful thing that happened with the planning of that is that the community came out. We had several community meetings, and we had students and soccer players and their families and teachers and residents in general all coming to tell us what they thought the priorities were, and they drew on maps, and they shared their feedback, and we created our first priority phase based on that. The amphitheater is a similar situation in that initially there was $9 million in developer fees that was specifically funded for that. Those funds can't be used for anything else. And yeah, everything has changed. The supply chains have changed, the cost of living and construction has changed, and so that is going to be a phased project, or we look at how we can change it to adapt to what the funding will cover, which is what we're currently in the middle of doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Faye, next question, same question.
Thank you. I very much support the sports complex. The one thing I have heard from some residents is why don't we have other sports? And that's where I invite them to go and speak their mind at city council meetings or any type of community events that are being hosted for that. As it comes for the Marsh Creek Amphitheater, I've heard mixed reviews from community members. The biggest concern I've heard specifically from our senior community is that it gets really hot in Brentwood. How do you expect us to sit out there during the hot weathers or hot times during the summer? One of the things that I completely support, and I think to complete our Main Street America downtown Brentwood would be to incorporate a performing arts theater, kind of how the Bankhead Theater has one in Livermore. That would be amazing if we could have something like that in the downtown Brentwood area where we can find grants to support that type of activity. And that would bring different kind of tourism. I mean, for the Nutcracker last year, our family went to Pittsburgh or Antioch to watch it. This year, I believe believe it's going to be at Liberty, but unless we have a hub that houses something like that, we can expand into the arts when it comes to Brentwood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anita, next.
Well, I support the sports complex as well. I think that that needs to stay, and whatever we have to do to keep it, that's great. As far as the amphitheater goes, well, I too believe that that open space might be something that we look at, but if not open space, that we revisit, strategize, come back to the community and find out what the community really wants, because things change. People's opinions change, and to that end, I can see a farm to table. I'd like to see a farm to table. We need more restaurants, more sit-down restaurants in this community. That being said, I would like to see, perhaps even, as Faye has indicated, something related to the arts. The arts is something that brings about a host of people from not just Brentwood, but from our neighboring cities. Make it regional, and bring in more activities for our children. That is the thing that is missing here in Brentwood. We have a lot of things here for the adults, but we don't have as much as we could have for our children, and we need to do more in that regard. So perhaps when it comes to that amphitheater, we might want to reconfigure that and see how we can engage something that is relative to our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, I pass the mic to Brian. The current iteration of the City Council attended a team building workshop last year to emphasize decorum and how to effectively govern together. If elected, would you sign a code of conduct and adhere to it?
You know what, I struggled to hear the first part of that question, if you
I
wouldn't
said,
mind.
one more time. The current City Council attended a team building workshop last year to emphasize how to work effectively and govern together. If elected, would you sign a code of conduct and adhere to it?
Yeah, very simple question.
Simple question.
Very simple answer is 100% yes. There should be a code of conduct. I believe it was Faye that talked about agreeing to disagree, and we should be able to do that. We should be able to have tough conversations and be able to get through them. And we're not supposed to all have the same opinion. We wouldn't have the city that we had if we didn't have the diversity of thought. I think it's very important that we have that diversity and that we all represent something different and that we all bring different values and cultures and everything forward. So simply, I don't want to take 2 minutes to answer this question, but yes,
Okay.
we should all sign a code of conduct.
Thank you. Ovita, same question.
This way? Yeah,
We're reversing order, by the
no
way,
problem.
just to keep you guys on your toes.
I actually did not attend the training, and I did not attend the training because I actually researched ILG, the provider, and I was actually very disappointed. I'm not a YIMBY. I'm not a yes in my backyard. I'm a let's analyze everything. And I also wasn't happy with what the training was going to deliver. I'm very big on like a Myers-Briggs kind of team building. That's what we had asked for, and that's not what we got when it came to the training that came forward. So I watched it, and at the end of the day, they didn't even do what they were supposed to do, right? It's like they listened a lot, but they didn't get to the meat of the project. And so no, I didn't go, but I would be more than happy to do something like a Myers-Briggs team building. So that would be very welcome. And I signed the code of conduct when I first got on council. We were asked to sign it again, which I thought was a little bit interesting. We've had a couple of council people not follow the code of conduct, share confidential information. So I just decided you're either going to be ethical, you're either going to have morals, or you are not. It doesn't matter what anyone signs because anyone can sign anything. There's nothing holding you to it. So I hold myself to high standards each and every single day. You probably know what I think and how I feel when you watch a meeting. So I hold myself to very high standards. I work very, very hard for my city. And yeah, I don't think there's a need to sign it. I think you should live it because signing it doesn't mean anything if you're not going to follow it.
Thank you. Going in reverse order.
Okay.
Next is Anita.
Yes, thank you. Well, I signed the code of conduct. I believe the Planning Commission has one. Maybe we don't. neither here nor there. I would sign the code of conduct, but it has to, I do remember the Planning Commission and City Council meeting, and I do remember how disappointed I was with the context of that session. I expected more. I think we have one every year, and this year or last year it was quite disappointing. So it really does come down to our involvement and what we would like to see, or who we would like to see leading that that session. Otherwise, it's us paying for something, then we're not getting anything out of it. That being said, the long and short of the answer would be that I would sign it. Thank you.
Thank you. And continuing in reverse order is Pei.
Thank you. I personally love working in a team environment, and I conduct myself I treat people with dignity and respect. I conduct myself respectfully, and I would welcome any type of training that was required of us to attend, and I've already signed the code of conduct that they provided to us as a candidate. Thank you.
I'm glad this is not the Supreme Court. It would be a different conversation. Okay, now this is a slightly different question for the mayor candidates, because you're the mayor. How would you enforce it? Yes. You take the question, but it's how, as the mayor, you would be responsible for enforcing the code of conduct.
Oh, okay.
How would you do it?
I did take part in that session. I'm going to start there. And I did it because, frankly, I had just been appointed and voted in unanimously by the council as vice mayor. And I felt a sense of obligation to be there and to take that session. But I was incredibly disappointed with it. And in fact, I don't remember what I said exactly, but I expressed that night that I did not think it was worth the money that we'd invested in it. I don't think it's a bad thing to have that kind of training. I don't think this training did anything that it was supposed to do. I also, at the time, I remember feeling it was premature. 2 of our council members were brand new. So the idea of us needing to have that kind of training before we even knew how we were going to work together, it just seemed like it was way too soon. Again, I'm not opposed to it. If it's maybe a little bit better researched, maybe council gets a say in who brings it in and what the topics are. As far as a code of conduct, again, I'm happy to sign those. I do think it's a piece of paper, and it's more important for us to live it and breathe it than it is to actually have the signed piece of paper on the wall. As far as enforcement, I think there's still that sense of misunderstanding how council works, because sometimes we do argue, sometimes things get heated, but everyone there is aware of what's happening and has a say. We either raise our hand or we speak in turn. The mayor at this point, and for the last 4 years, has encouraged us to speak up as items come forward for us that we have strong feelings about or have any feedback on, for that matter at all. I think the idea of staying on topic is important. The idea of making sure that everyone has a chance to speak, the idea of making sure people can bring an agenda item forward that is important to them, those things are more important to me than the piece of paper. Thank you.
Thank you. And next will be Gerald. Same question as a mayor.
So first, I just want to say that growing up, my mother always taught me that my word is my bond. If I give you my word, if I sign a piece of paper that says I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Nothing that I affix my signature to, I'm not going to abide by it. That's number one. I grew up in corporate America. I can't tell you the amount of courses that I've taken, management training courses, about how to conduct yourself, how to lead people, how to get along with people, how not to antagonize people, how to treat people with respect and dignity. That shouldn't be something that we just take for granted. That is something that we should be focused on to get the best out of people. Anybody here who ever worked for somebody and you didn't feel like you were treated with respect or dignity, or you didn't feel like people cared about you, did you perform your best? I don't think so. If we want a council that's going to perform well, we got to treat each other with respect and dignity. If I was asked to sign that agreement about code of conduct, I would absolutely sign it. and I'd absolutely adhere to it. And as a mayor, I would expect that the city council would adhere to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You will begin the next question. Gerald, at several city council meetings, city employees have used public comment period to express their frustrations, not only having a contract that's new, but some aspects of leadership. What would you do to rebuild the trust and build a cohesive, collaborative environment between the city council and the employees?
Well, you see, this is very important that we resolve this issue. Because as I just said a second ago, I feel like I got a double take here. You guys are getting too much of me. But as I just said a second ago, people can't perform well if they're stressed on certain issues. So I do believe we need to resolve the contract issues. We need to resolve it expeditiously. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I don't know who's holding it up, but I do know it's our responsibility as the mayor and council people to get the issue resolved. And I think that it's the employee's right to come to a city council meeting and talk about what they feel is going on, but we do need to get that issue resolved. It's going on since July, I believe it is, and it's going on too long. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm trying to decide we're saving time because we're passing the mic to the end, so we'll go next to Susanna.
Okay, thank you. I have to say, I feel that this is a question that has anyone sitting on current council, meaning Councilmember Mendoza and me, at a disadvantage because we cannot talk about what's happening behind closed doors. Closed session is sacred. We are not allowed to talk about it even with our spouses or kids or friends or anything. So you may be hearing some things about labor negotiations. Please do not believe everything you read. I want to say, as far as the staff coming to speak, that was actually a Councilmember Mendoza agenda item because many of them were not feeling comfortable enough or maybe even permitted to come and speak into public comment. And it is important. And we sit up there sometimes and people yell at us and say bad things about us or say things that we know are not true, and yet everyone has the right, whether they're going to come and scream at us and yell at us and lie about us or come and tell us what they think we're doing a great job on, because that happens too. They have the right to speak. So I don't think the idea of changing anything about the public comment setup with staff and everything, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think they're expressing frustrations because most of them, well, almost all of them, don't know what's going on behind closed session either. They're listening to group leaders, or they're maybe reading the newspaper, or whatever it is they're hearing is not what's happening behind closed doors. So I just think it's important to note that in pretty much every aspect of what we're talking about tonight, come to city council meetings, come and speak to us, reach out to us. If you want to hear the actual truth about what's happening, where we can talk about it, where it isn't a closed session item, I'm happy to talk about anything, whether it's uncomfortable or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yes. The question was, at several city council meetings, city employees have used their public comment period at the meeting to express their frustrations of not having a new employment contract and with some aspects of city leadership. What would you do to rebuild the trust and a cohesive, collaborative environment between the council and the employees?
Thank you. First off, I believe organizationally speaking that we need to make it very important and known that retention is a priority. And in order for us to retain our employees and our city staff, we have to ensure that we're providing them with a good environment, that they are cared for, that they are taken care of, because the way that we treat our employees is the way that they're going to be treating our community. That is huge. So it is also important to understand that city council sets policy. They're not necessarily dictating the day-to-day that's happening organizationally speaking, and at the same time prioritizing our policies and the importance of treating our staff well should be communicated with the department managers. And I feel having that open setting or doing making contacts or town halls with the staff is important as city council, just to kind of hear from them, whether it's a union meeting or a union group or whatnot, just to ensure that they are being heard and ensuring that the directors are doing their jobs basically to make sure that they are getting what they deserve, that they are not out of contract, that they do have the resources they need to live, and it's comparable when it comes to salaries to other regions that are nearby. Thank you.
Thank you. Anita, next.
Okay, thank you. So I believe in following rules and regs. And this is not something new that's happening. What's happening here in the city of Brentwood happens at school boards, happens at fire boards, happens at police boards. And so when it comes to contract negotiation, there is a process. I support 100% staff coming before City Council, and thank you, Commissioner or Councilwoman Mendoza, for allowing, giving a space, a safe space for folks to be able to come and have a voice. They need to vent, and I'm okay with that. By all means, that's a forum, and they're entitled to do that. But I would take the time to educate them and remind them that there is a process, and we're going to follow the process. That process isn't just for the city of Brentwood. That process goes on across the nation, and that they need to be mindful of that process. How long it takes, I have no idea, but I would encourage those that are in the closed sessions to take light, to not take light of the need to have answers. And that's what they want. They want answers. We have to be careful about the answers we give them because, again, this is negotiating between lawyers and the union. And so to that end, we have to be very careful about how we communicate an outcome.
Thank you. Alvita, next.
I am the one who wrote the policy. I was getting several calls from employees who did not feel safe speaking to their council members, and I was stunned. We have a constitution. It gives us the freedom of speech, free speech. I always say your council is where that free speech can happen in government. Private entities are private entities, but you should be able to say whatever you want to say in a government facility. Take the pictures, take the video, say what you want to say. And not only that, but there was residents who were actually approached and told not to speak at meetings as well, and I was appalled. So from residents, I told them you have your right, you can come and use your minutes. And the extended 5 minutes is on average only added 15 minutes to a meeting, so it's not public comment. That's making our meetings last long. But I am glad that they come and speak. I encourage them to speak each and every single time they want to, and not just about labor negotiations, about anything that they see that they would like to see changed. It's important. Like Vice Mayor Meyer stated, we cannot speak about it. And actually, even as candidates, you cannot speak about something that might come to you for a vote. You would have to recuse yourself per FPPC guidelines. So we really should not be speaking about anything that would ever come to a vote. So I will have to refrain from speaking about the labor negotiations on their own.
Thank you. Brian?
I'm going to speak from the point of view of being a city employee. I don't work for the city of Brentwood, but I work for the city of Oakland. I've worked for them for the last 24 years. And no city employee wants to go and speak to their city council. And when I'm off duty, there's nothing against me going and speaking to my city council. I'm off work. I can go and speak to the city council. I don't need to work off of a policy. City employees don't want to do that. City employees are looking for fair wages, benefits, and working conditions. The associations that we have here have been exchanging information since January, from my understanding. We've been out of contract since June. We're in October already. I'm hoping that this is going to get squared away quickly, that this isn't something that we're going to have to address when the new council is seated. But that's how we rebuild trust, is we give them a fair wage, fair working conditions, and this is how we address some of those other issues. This police beat that we've talked about for a decade that's been funded for 3 years, officers aren't coming here because of our wages, benefits, and working conditions and the bonuses that are being offered elsewhere. I think there's a way that we can bring those officers here and stay within budget and be fiscally responsible. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, pass the mic to Susanna. And the question is, the city council needs to not just work in collaboration with each other and employees, but also with various boards and commissions that make up the city government to affect change. How would you ensure the council is communicating effectively with governing bodies, and what are some potential challenges to doing that?
Thank you. I would say if you're talking about the commissions and committees, you're talking internally and externally, or?
Can we have clarification on that? Because it was a little, I was reading it and I had the same question.
Thank you. I hope I can restart my
Whoever
time just to
submitted
get
this
that
question.
clarification. Okay, thank you.
So-
Yes, it is absolutely important for us to be able to work collaboratively. It's another one of those words. Collaboratively, and I would say that that's something I feel really strongly about. It's something I think I do a very good job at. We talked a little bit earlier about regional planning and regional collaboration, and our neighboring cities, other cities within the county, other cities within the state, the California League of Cities, the legislators. It's very important for us to build those relationships, to be able to impact the work that we're getting done, to be able to affect policy, to be able to do what's right for Brentwood. We're sometimes going to bang our head against a wall when it comes to things like, for example, housing development, where we want so badly to represent what Brentwood needs, but we are restricted by what the state legislators say. So sometimes those relationships that you build might down the road maybe impact how those policies are built, but right now in the moment, it's really hard to get the things done that we want to get done based on what those policies are. That said, we have created committees. I launched the Aging and Disabilities Ad Hoc Committee, which will be a standing committee come January, because I saw a need in the community. We've got an aging population, we've got a disabilities population that hasn't been represented to the extent that it should have been. I mentioned that I was focused on adaptive recreation when I first started, and I continue to be. And I think through those committees, we get more focused work done internally. There's some other new committees that other people can talk about as well. But some of those committees are for the sake of addressing a very specific topic, sometimes short-term, sometimes long-term. They are critical for us to have 2 council members attend. Sometimes there's a planning commissioner as well. Sometimes there are stakeholders from the community. And all of that is about not just building those relationships, but also listening to what the public wants from their city and from their representation. And that's why it's so critical to make sure that we're building the relationships and keeping them that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Great, next.
Thank you. As a part of my work in public safety, I am often tasked with collaborating with other counties, county commissions, any other local commissions in order to make effective policy or implement policy. Luckily for my work within the Contra Costa Commission for Women and Girls, I got to work closely with Supervisor Burgess's office as well as Supervisor Candace Anderson's office when we are developing either new events to benefit the community. For example, we had California Women Lead come put on different events to teach and educate people on how to apply for boards and commissions throughout the whole Contra Costa County. Same as working with the Family Justice Center, I was able to collaborate with them to have mental health wellness workshops, especially with folks coming out of COVID where they were experiencing mental health, lack of financial services and whatnot. So we were able to give them different types of resources and build workshops. Working with the our Commission on Homelessness, that's also been very valuable. And also working within the commission with Safe Return. We had one of our commissioners, she recently passed away, God bless her, Adeta Shagar. She was huge into Safe Return, and we worked a lot with the population that was coming out of jails and prisons for reintegration back into society programs. So when you take the commission that we have, and we're focused on so many different groups, we're being inclusive, stay-at-home moms, childcare, professionals, public safety, and whatnot. That takes a lot of collaboration, and I've built those relationships, thankfully. Thank you.
Thank you. Anita?
Okay, one of the things that, as a planning commissioner, we are engaged in on an annual basis is planning sessions, statewide. And those planning sessions bring about collaborative discussions with attorneys, with other legislators, policymakers, other planners, other planning commissioners, and it's a 3-day engagement. And what we learn from that, we bring back to the city of Brentwood, and we're able to sit down and begin to have a discussion about perhaps what other counties or municipalities, I should say, are doing and what's working for them, and maybe apply it or think about applying it here. So it's invaluable for us to do this on an annual basis. We get a lot of information. It's a 3-day session all day long, and it's the new laws that are coming in. We're prepared for what is about to come down the pipe in Sacramento because the attorneys know. One of the attorneys that we have here in the city of Brentwood is typically handling one of those forums. So invaluable information that I look forward to. I attend and have been attending for the last 4 years and will continue to attend. Some of the council members are, I guess you guys have your own thing. So, so yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ovita, next.
Yeah, it's important to get involved in different committees and different commissions. I'm on interagency. It's one of my favorite committees that I'm on. It's where Brentwood Union, Liberty Union, Los Meranos Police Department, and the Fire Department come together and we talk about issues that are happening with our youth. We've come out of there with a lot of good things. The latest one you might have seen is the tobacco ordinance. We know that children are smoking and vaping in the bathrooms, and we were racking our brains trying to figure it out. So having met people in other cities and kind of polling them on what they're doing, what we found is that having a radius of no smoke shops within a school actually helped drastically diminish vaping in schools. So we now have an ordinance of Brentwood where you cannot have a vape shop within 500 feet of a school. So we will be closing some of our vape shops, unfortunately. But, you know, they've been caught selling to kids. So if you don't follow the rules, then you get shut down and you lose your ability to sell that product. So the other one is LUD, the Land Use and Economic Development Committee. That one's also been great. That's where we look at any kind of land use ordinance, anything that's going on with the businesses before it goes forward. I sit on that with Commissioner Roberts and Pat Tanisha. It's actually, we have a really good time on it. That's where we kind of finesse things before they come to council. So when we talk about the tobacco ordinance, it went there first and then it went forward. We talk about our grant process there and then it moves forward. So we've had a lot of good work there. That's where as I mentioned earlier, we suggested to our staff that our affordable housing has to be offered to our teachers and our police officers, which we were very excited about. I created the budget subcommittee. I felt we needed to know more about, I'm getting my time, more about what was going on with our budget. I'm on the board for the Latino Caucus in Cal Cities. I am a member of the Housing Committee for Cal Cities. I work with cities of Oakley and Antioch. The tobacco ordinance is something, the oil and gas ban is something that Antioch helped me with. You know, we got an AVA, which means our grapes in California, so working with all of the wine growers, an AVA that says Contra Costa will get more money per tonnage for grapes for our farmers. So we need to sit on a lot of committees in order to help across the board. So they're very different, every single one of them.
Thank you. Brian, next.
So I think committees and commissions are very important to share information and to collaborate. I've had the opportunity to sit on a number of committees and commissions over the years, chair those commissions. It's something that I actually received an award for roughly 3 years ago. I received a Legislative Advocacy Award from the National Association of Emergency Medical Technicians. I'm one of the only paramedics in the state of California that has ever received that award, and that has to do with my work on various commissions and committees. I see a lot of missed opportunities regionally because of the way that we handle business out here. And the example that I'm going to use is there's a number of committees and or city councils that meet on the same night. That's one of the things that I'd like to look at is working with the council, working with the city manager to identify, are there other nights that city councils in our neighboring cities could meet? Could somebody move to a Monday night instead of a Tuesday night? I see our what I consider our higher elects. I see the staff trying to navigate 2 and 3 different computers because they're trying to listen in on what's going on at various city council meetings or county supervisor meetings, maybe things that are going on in the state. But I see that we have at least 3 different local meetings that are being held on Tuesday night. So I think that's one area that we could immediately start looking at, adjusting the night, so we could better communicate and collaborate, and not just our local legislative folks that are monitoring in. I mean, the media is trying to monitor in, and we're trying to get accurate information from our media. We want them to report truth, we want them to report fact, and we need them to be able to listen to what's going on and not have to multitask on 3 different local meetings. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to pass the mic back to Gerald on the other end for the last answer for this question.
So I definitely agree with meeting with other commissions. Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. You know, it also gets best practices across the board. First of all, you just get to learn and soak in different information from different perspectives. For example, you know, I think Brian was just talking about, you know, working with the local cities around us, like I was talking about earlier about the unhoused population. So we have stuff in Target, which is actually Antioch. You cross the street and you're in Brentwood. And we're fooling ourselves if we think that we're going to solve this problem just Brentwood only. We need to focus on regional solutions, which means getting involved with other cities, working together to solve problems. Now, that doesn't mean we're all going to see things the same way, but we do need to work together to solve problems. And I think by working with different commissions, different mayors, different cities, we can solve problems that impact us uniquely, because, you know, you can get to Oakley, Antioch, and Brentwood within 3 minutes, depending on where you are in this city. So we're not going to solve things only by focusing on Brentwood. So I think we do need to look at working not only with different commissions within our city, but outside our city. We need to work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, starting with Faye. Brentwood's form of government is a council manager model, in which a city council hires a city manager to oversee day-to-day operations. Where only the city manager and the city attorney report directly to the city council. If elected, would you want to change that in any way?
So if elected, the question is if I was elected, if I would want to change any other directors reporting to the council other than the city attorney.
In terms of the model that the city has.
I do not. I believe that the role of city council is to implement policy, ensure that it's going out, and also receive information from the community and engage with the community. And we need to be able to trust our city manager and our city attorney's office and our staff to conduct their jobs. I do not believe in micromanagement. I do believe that we need to ensure that they understand what the policies are that we're implementing and what we're advising them to do in order to fulfill their duties.
And the next will be Susanna, next the opposite way.
You are keeping us on our toes.
I'm trying.
We actually have a pending agenda item that hasn't come back to us yet, but it was Councilmember Mendoza, and I seconded it, to look at the charter city model. And El Cerrito is currently doing it, and they're thrilled with it. There are a lot of other Bay Area cities doing it too. I'm not 100% sure either way, but what I can say is that charter city model would potentially look at a different way for us to be able to negotiate, if you will, with the state when it comes to having to comply with every single housing legislation that comes forward. So there are different models that we can consider. That would change things a little bit as far as the structure of the city and the staffing and all of that. But I think it's a due diligence item. We heard about it. We heard that it might help. There were some cities that are from Southern California, if I recall, that were having success with fighting against some of these predatory housing bills based on having a charter city status. So the idea of us looking at that doesn't mean we're actually going to necessarily do it. It means we're going to consider it, which again is our due diligence. When it comes to the city manager and the city attorney, at this point, yes, both of those do report to us, and they are the only two. I know there's a neighboring city that was looking at having the police chief also report to council. I don't know that I think it's necessary at this point. I do think one of the best things I think that we've done is to require our city manager to hold monthly town halls. They're not happening right now. They need to start again with the community, driven by the community in different parts of the city with different communities, older, younger, different times of the day, different days of the week, so commuters can take part in that too, people that work full-time. Just because this whole accessibility and transparency thing is really important to me, but it also needs to be coming from the city manager. He is your representative as well. He is customer service to the city as well. Thank you. Which way am I passing?
Gerald, why not? Yes, Gerald's next.
So currently, the current situation is kind of like a board of directors and a CEO. And in that scenario, the CEO is the city manager, the board of directors is the city council. It's our job to set clear direction, a strategic vision, and goals, KPIs, standards that we want to see happen. And then we hold the city manager and the attorney to those goals. So we give them a goal, and when we see if they can hit that goal. That's kind of the current scenario. I'm in agreement with that. We need to provide a clear strategic direction about where we want to go, and then we hold our city manager and our city attorney to those standards. That's how it's supposed to work. That's how it should work, and I think that's that's how I'm in favor of it working.
Thank you. Let's pass the mic down to Jovita next.
Do we get the question?
Oh, the same question. Oh. Okay, Anita. I'm sorry, Anita.
Is it my turn?
Yes. Oh, we'll go with Brian. I was trying to shorten the mic passing the baton because it's taking time. Yes. Okay, Brian, how about it?
Yeah, so I'm currently not in favor of changing anything. I think Brentwood's a fantastic city. I think we've operated the councils in the past, the mayors in the past. I think we have a great thing going here. I am looking forward to seeing what the city manager and staff brings back regarding Charter City. I think we don't, and none of us have enough information to know if it will work for us. Sometimes, I'm not currently sitting behind the dais as a council member, but sometimes watching from the public, I feel like we're bringing big city problems to our small community out here in Brentwood. And I feel like bringing a charter city would make, I don't feel like we're in a position right now, we've got roughly 64,000 residents. I don't feel like we're in a position where we need a charter city. Our city manager, as far as I'm concerned, I've had the opportunity to work with him over the years from the fire district. As far as I'm concerned, he's doing a fantastic job. And I think we need to give him the ability to manage his staff. I don't think there needs to be any overreach. If there are any actual issues with him, then we need to provide that direction or correction and address that. But as far as I can see, I think the city of Brentwood is very well run. I hear nothing but positive things about our city staff, and I wouldn't change a thing right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And passing it reversed to Jovita.
Yes, so I'm the one who brought the item forward. If you know the difference between a charter city and a general law city, charter cities have a lot more say in what they do when it comes to the state. The state makes these laws and these bills and they push them down, and as a general city, we have no choice. And we started hearing about building laws coming down, bills coming down, and places like Redondo Beach, Huntington Beach, there's a lot of different charter cities. It's not just big cities that are charter cities. It's cities that want to have more control in their own destiny. So that's what I've been hearing, so I brought it forward, and I want to see what it offers. I want to see the pros. I want to see the cons. Is it true that we get more autonomy? If it is, then it's something I want to look at. Are some things different? Yes, they are. But the benefit of having meetings is you have to actually go through a process. And part of that process is having public meetings and getting the public's input. And how do you want your charter city to look? So for example, some cities have an elected attorney. Some charter cities do not. There's benefits to having it, there's benefits to not having it. I've heard it from both sides. But I think it would be short-sighted to not want to explore and see if our residents, because again, we should be resident-focused in all that we do our residents benefit from a charter city? And if we do, then we put it on the ballot and we decide what the residents want to do.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I believe that at this point in time, and not knowing as much as both Councilwoman Mendoza and Vice Mayor Meyer, I would like to keep things the way they are, but I'd like to see it move a little quicker. I'm a little frustrated. As a planning commissioner chair, we vote on things and it passes on to city council, and council typically agrees with some of the things that we vote on, and then it just sits. And this is no good. There are a lot of things that are sitting in the hopper, and I'm wondering, well, where's the movement on this? Well, how much long is it going to be? We talked about that a little earlier with the amphitheater and some of the other things that were discussed here previously. So, the city manager's responsibility is to execute that the legislatures, which are us, or council, puts before them. And there's got to be some time. There's got to be some kind of drop-dead date on some of this stuff that is being passed. It shouldn't sit in the hopper for years in and years out. I think that is a disservice to the citizens. You guys have made it clear that this is what you want, so give it to them, and it shouldn't take that long. I know it's a process. I know that there's a budget involved. I know there's strategic planning involved. I know that there are RFPs involved, but it shouldn't take years and years to get to the beginning, putting the shovel in the dirt in many instances. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to pass the mic to Jovita to answer our final question of the evening. Oh, I'm sorry, did I miss someone? No. Yes, and that's we only have one question. We removed some of the questions. Okay. So the next question, starting with Jovita, Brentwood has made progress in getting closer. Unless you want to do this, do you want to do this for 1 minute? We'll try 1 minute, and then we'll get everyone out by 8:30, maybe. 1 minute? Okay. Brentwood has made progress in getting closer to the level of fire protection and emergency medical services that members in the community say they need and deserve, including a new fire station downtown. Do you support a new fire station downtown, and why?
I'm sorry, Dr. Hall, but no one on this panel can answer that question. If we answer that question when it comes...
Well, then I can get you guys out by 8:30 if
when
we
it
don't.
comes forward, all of us would have to recuse ourselves. Even when I was running, we were told we cannot answer questions that could come to a vote in front of us.
I think what she's referring to is something called the Brown Act, if any of you know any governance
Yeah, I'm
about
sorry.
city. Show of hands, does everyone know what that means, what she said?
Yeah.
And do you understand? Everyone, the audience.
You
okay.
can't have an opinion
You
about
can't
an item before it comes to council. If you do, the FPP sees that you are already pre-deemed without having had the information like judge and jury.
She's correct, actually, for those of you who know what that means. Yes, okay, everyone, all the panelists agree, so that's our last question for the evening. Wow, okay. Wow, okay, so in our last minute, we have time for each of you to give a 2-minute summary and closing statement, and we'll start with Brian.
I think I'm going to close mine with endorsements. I've got a lot of people with faith and trust behind me that I've built over the years, working with our people at the state level, the county level, the city level. Fiona Ma has given me her endorsement. Assembly member Tim Grayson has given me his endorsement. County Supervisor Diane Burgess, who's our local rep, has given me her endorsement. Candace Anderson has given me her endorsement. Tony Orlemans, who's one of our city council members, has given me his endorsement. California Professional Firefighters, International Association of Firefighters, Local 1230 has provided their endorsement. Deputy Sheriff's Association has provided their endorsement. I'm not going to continue to go on, but you can go to my website, www.brianforbrentwood.com, and you will see a list of groups, organizations, and individuals that have endorsed me because I have earned their trust. I am committed to community and dedicated to service. I have been for almost 30 years working as a fire captain, as a firefighter, as a paramedic. And I'm going to be looking for your vote for Brentwood District 3 in November. Thank you.
Thank you. Pass it on to Jovita.
Hi, I want to thank everyone for coming out. I know it's a late night, and again, thank you to Greg, the chamber, and to Dr. Hall for being here. I've had an amazing 4 years. We have accomplished so much, and when I say we, it's because I don't do this alone. I do this with the residents of Brentwood. We've stopped a rezone. We've stopped Measure L. We got an oil and a gas ban. We are controlling tobacco shops. We passed Measure Q. We got a freedom of speech for our employees. The list can go on and what we've done, and this does not happen alone. It happens with a lot of work with the community. And when elected, I will always represent you first. I will bring your agenda items first because you are my priority. I see myself as part of the public. I am not part of staff. We're elected to represent you, and I don't blur those lines. So please, actually you can send in your ballots now. Vote for me, and I hope I can get your support. And always feel free to reach out. I always return every single email, every single call, every single Facebook message or Facebook comment, or even next door. So please reach out. I'm excited for the work that we've done, and I'm more excited about what we have to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, next to Anita.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you all for attending. This has been an experience for me. It's my first go-round and sitting up on a dais and having a conversation about city council information. And so this has been a real treat for me. I do want to preface that as a planning commissioner and chair, 4 terms, I come ready and prepared, and would like to elevate your ask and my desire to continue the work for the city of Brentwood. It's important. I live here, and I believe that the one thing we have in common is that we want to keep it small. We want to keep it. We want to keep our farms. We want to keep it inviting and keep it safe. That's what I want, and I believe that that's what you want. And so, given the opportunity, I look for your vote in November, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. Next is Faye.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here this late in the evening, and thank you for putting this forum on, Greg, and the chamber. I have dedicated my whole life to public service, and I am so excited to be able to utilize my experience that I've gained advocating on a national level and a local level for my own community, and to be able to focus all my efforts and my education and my learning experience here. I feel that I have a lot to bring to the table just from everybody that I have spoken to in our district, in District 1, and the whole Brentwood community. I am going to support public safety, the business community, our agriculture community, ensure that everyone is treated fair and equitably, and I am going to bring professionalism, accountability, and inclusivity here. I do come from a diverse background. I speak Arabic, I speak Spanish, I'm Middle Eastern Hispanic, so I feel that there's a lot of work to be done with our business community when it comes to north side of Brentwood as well. And for that, I hope that I earned your vote, and please vote for me. And my website is fayeforbrentwood.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Susanna.
Thanks so much. I'm afraid I'm going to forget. So SusannaMeyer.com, materials in the hallway. I hope you've all learned something tonight and enjoyed spending your Monday evening with us. And hopefully it hasn't been too painful for the people on Zoom, because I know sometimes you don't get all the whole nuances that way. I'm really proud of what I've been able to accomplish alone and part of a team in the last 4 years. It does take 3 votes to get anything accomplished. So if you go into this thinking I'm going to make major change and you don't have the backing of at least 2 other council members, you're not getting anything done anyway. So we've talked about relationship building. That is absolutely critical, and it's something I'm very good at. I've stood for resident-driven agendas, transparency, and governance. I'm on the Ag Enterprise Committee, and I'm a part of the reason we're going to have a brand-new Ag Innovation Center over by the East Contra Costa Historical Society, which, if you haven't gone, go. It's worth it. I am standing for disabilities rights and aging rights. I'm on the Equity Committee. From the day one, I've been standing for the same things, and I've stood my ground the entire time. And again, I can say we don't always agree on everything, but a lot of times we'll get to the same end just through different directions there. I hope that I've earned your vote. I hope that you will check out my website or reach out to me, because I would love to engage with all of you and talk to you more about what I stand for. I love Brentwood. I want to be a part of recognizing its promise without losing touch with its past. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Gerald.
So first, thank you to the Chamber of Commerce, and thank you to the press, and thank you to our illustrious hosts. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'm running for mayor because I believe we have a tremendous potential opportunity to have Brentwood thrive. I believe, as you know, creating a business-friendly environment. I also want to build affordable homes and address the unhoused situation here in Brentwood. I want to provide strong, focused leadership Leadership is about uniting and listening and ensuring every voice is heard. I want to restore that focus, decorum. I want to make sure that everybody works together so that we can have things that work towards the benefit of Brentwood. If you really believe in what I'm saying, please don't hesitate to go to my website, GeraldCJohnson.com. Don't forget the C, GeraldCJohnson.com. I'm committed to bringing this level of engagement, this level of leadership to Brentwood that I've brought all my career. I've led from major corporations to nonprofits all throughout my career. I can do it again in Brentwood. I'd love to be your mayor. Please give me a vote. I would love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we're passing the mic down. One last person, Brian. And Brian, did you get a final? Yeah, Brian has not had his closing statement. Oh, he did. Oh, well, I guess we're done. Well, thank you for all adhering to the time limits and respecting each other's opportunity to speak. And it was an honor and privilege to serve as your moderator. Our goal today is how to foster a nice, respectful, informative discussion that will hopefully benefit all you in the community. And it's now 8:29. Good night.
All right. Thank you so much. I do want to thank Dr. Hall so much for being our moderator tonight. I do want to give a shout out to Andy, our cameraman and technical guy, Dale, our guys up in the sound booth, to all of our council and mayoral candidates. Good luck to you all. Remember, the most important thing is go out and vote. God bless you all and be safe. Dana Eaton, thank you so much again. And Emil, you have a beautiful auditorium. Do you play movies here on Friday night we can come to with popcorn or anything?